Same as last time, no sound. stuff you mentioned it, Mayor, what they do behind the scenes often goes unnoticed. And they have done this through all types of weather, all sorts of things, and as a recipient of this, I'm very grateful for what they've done. The president of the auxiliary is Marcia Balzer. She couldn't be here tonight, but with us, we have Robin and Art Petak, Ruth Hanley, and Cindy Kimbrough. Cindy is a charter member of the organization, so 50 years of service, active service, and she's here tonight too. So again, I publicly want to thank the auxiliary for what they've done. Thank you for the proclamation. If you want to bring that back to them, that would be great. And we appreciate all the support that you give not only the fire department, but all the entities of this fire department.
Wants to receive.
You're back here.
I will. Thank you all again. Can't say enough, the wee hours of the night, they're all doing it, so we appreciate all those great things that are happening. Next privilege of the floor, you can grab the sheet. Is there anybody signed that would privilege the floor? Chris Ryan?
Hello, my name is Chris Ryan. I live on Belrose and just wanted to comment on the retaining project that's going on in our neighborhood. Sure some of you are probably familiar with that. I guess I had a couple questions, although I know this probably isn't a question and answer session. But I am wondering whose call it is to decide we're gonna do these streets and at what time, and who decides, well, how we're gonna do them. Like our street is being repaved, but we're getting not granite curbs, but we're getting asphalt curbs. This last year, Helen, which is just across the street from Rotten Ave, you know, they got a different thing, so that has people in the neighborhood upset, because they're wondering what's different about our street, and I'm wondering, is there some process by where that's decided, and who's making that decision? Another question I had was about the materials, so I think the asphalt curb is a big one. And I don't know who made the decision to do that, but I don't think they're gonna hold up well. I've looked on, the Nat Street was done last year, so I drove over there. You can see a couple spots where it's been hit by a vehicle and the curb's crushed. So I was told by one of the workers that Pinecrest is another area that was done that way. And I don't know how long that's been there, but it's washing out, so the rain is actually going under it. So. And it just seems like they're not going to weather very well. Especially, I think they're designed to control traffic and water, and they don't seem to be able to do either one very well. I guess my other comment is, my street didn't need repaving at all, so I'm wondering why it was repaved. You look on Google Maps and go up and down the street, there's hairline cracks, but there wasn't a pothole on the whole street except at the very end where it meets Groton Ave, and there's overlap of the asphalt, and it always breaks up. The rest of the street was fine, not a single patch or pothole other than one water repair. So I'm wondering why, you know, if money's an issue, which I'm assuming it is, you know, because we're doing asphalt curbs, then why my street was repaved at all? And my final comment is, I absolutely hate public speaking, so I resent being here. And I sent out some emails, and I would have preferred to discuss this with a couple of you over email. And you didn't respond, and that really pisses me off. And so now you got me looking at asphalt and what the city's doing, and you know what we're choosing to repave things. And I'm starting to wonder, you know, why we're using cold mix instead of hot mix. And you know, these are things I didn't know about, you know, last Wednesday. But now I'm starting to learn about them, and I also, you know, for a long time, I've noticed, you drive around the city, our streets disintegrate. This doesn't seem to happen in other places, you know, we have potholes, that's normal, that's always been the process. But we have a top layer on our asphalt that goes from pretty decent to absolutely crumbling within a couple of weeks in the winter, and this keeps happening over and over again. I'm wondering, is this, you know, who's making the decision? Is it because we're using cold mix instead of hot mix? Is it a money saving thing? Me, it looks like the equivalent of painting a house without primer. Looks really good, saves money, but it starts peeling, and once it starts peeling, it falls apart. That's how it appears to me. So those are my comments. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else for privilege of the floor? Those will be discussed at the end of the meeting. We'll be discussing the curbing at the end of the meeting, towards the end of the meeting, as an added item. Okay, so we'll move on to the mayor's report. The comprehensive plan, public input session is scheduled for, Tuesday, June 24th, from 6 to 8 at the Cortland House Lodge. The meeting will be held to open house format. During the participants will be able to interact with the different displays and the boards and, to give their input and the overview of the comprehensive plan and the guiding principles behind that. So if everybody publicly can take the time to get to those, Tuesday, June 24th, 6 to 8 meeting, that would be great. We can have those conversations. That would be helpful, to be able to do that. Again, we've had a lot going on, but in the interest of time, I'm gonna try to move things on forward to, board reports. So, Ward 1.
My first 2 weeks are pretty quiet, so I really don't have anything to report.
Perfect. This Sylvan, Ward 2.
Second ward was quiet as well. There's a pair of shoes hanging on a wire, at Gordon Clayton Ave that I'd like to have removed, and also there's some striping that needs to be restriped, particularly the intersection of Homer Ave and Main by the hospital. That can be tricky for people who are unfamiliar with which lane you need to be in to go straight. And it's hard to see anymore. That's it from the second ward.
Ward 3.
Okay, so third ward, we just want to thank several people while I have been incapacitated for the last 3 weeks. I want to thank the mayor. I want to thank Beth Greenwood, who's not here tonight. I want to thank Andy Jewett, and I want to thank the fire department, Derek, Chief Friedman, everybody who has been there for me in the last few weeks. I'm back, and third ward, Mr. Ryan mentioned pretty much the issue that's been ongoing in our ward, and it has to do with the streets and the repaving and the curbing. So I will wait to hear, this comments at the end of this meeting. But other than that, other than the streets, it's pretty calm right now. And so other than that. So I just want to thank everybody for their support. Okay.
That's fine.
I was given this by a constituent, and actually I could have written it, but I didn't. Things to consider at the common council meeting: speeding on Tompkins Street. They suggest issuing tickets, patrol more often. The fact that the speed is 30 miles an hour, not 40, 45, or 50, which they do go down that fast. They were wondering about purchasing a sign similar to the sign on Route 13 coming into Dryden, where it tells you how fast you're going. Paint white lines to distinguish, so people know the difference between where they're supposed to drive and where they're supposed to park. Cars driving on Tompkins Street like it's a 4-lane highway. Bicycle riders riding against traffic. He would like to see warnings issued, and he said it's an accident waiting to happen. From me, Joe Schaefer, was a constituent of mine, and she passed away yesterday. Joe was an important member of the Democratic Committee for Portland and of the college family as well. She'll be dearly missed by all who knew her.
For sure. Thank you for that. Good passing.
I have one item to report and that is to say thank you to the code office for following up. A yard that was observing no mow May in June. And so thank you for that support.
No more.
Thank you, Mr. Carter.
Next information is again over at Hickory Park Road. The mayor's looked at it. It's got the solution possibly as to fixing it. It's been going on for years, that water issue down there. Also did the ward walk last night. It was very good. It was a good job. Pointed out with the mayor and some deficiencies and sidewalks and all that. So it was very informative. That's it.
Thank you. We have to finish that Thursday.
Yep.
Yeah. Mr. Beckler.
Just real quick, just wanna mention that Mr. Jewett held up I don't know if you guys win on Saturday at the bocce ball tournament or. You gave it your best. It was good, a good turnout on obviously the east side. It used to be St. Anthony's weekend, but obviously, you all know Chipper passed away, so they had a memorial service for him. But it's normally on the same weekend as the St. Anthony's, but anyway, it was a good turnout.
Good program.
Yeah.
Mr. Mike.
Just a few things. I attended the last planning and zoning meetings. We had concerned residents that had some questions on proposed new housing construction. It was fairly well turned out. Individuals had got some answers that they didn't have before, so that individual is proceeding with his new construction plans. Rode the dairy parade just after we reached the end of our route. We shot over to Billy's neighborhood with an individual on a motorized scooter that lost control.
We all thought of you.
And fell off with injuries. I don't know how that individual turned out, but I did run into Billy over there along with some of his other neighbors. I met with a city attorney and forwarded him some paperwork on legislation regarding drafting something upon these e-bikes and scooters, possibly creating a new law regarding operation and licensing. These in the city of Cortland. I have had some communication with our chief of police. He's aware that this is in the works. I'm just waiting for our city attorney to comment. Located an ash tree and possibly a second one on my street that needs to be removed. We'll be getting a hold of the neighbors that have these trees, let them know that what's going on, and then I'll forward this information over to our DPW. We also removed a split tree on Cedar a few weeks ago. I want to thank DPW for getting right on that. Attended the youth bureau board meeting last week. Very informational. And also our board walk is scheduled for July 2nd and 3rd. For those that are interested. And that's all I have for my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Approval of minutes for May 20th regular meeting and special meetings June 3rd and June 17th. I have a motion by Ms. Lang. Back up, any questions? For all three minutes, obviously in file, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Agenda item number 1, approve special event permits for the Great Pumpkin Fest, October 4th, 5th, and 25. Mr. Johnson, I guess we'll take the motion. Okay. The Sylvan Drive in.
Resolved that the city of Portland Common Council does hereby approve the issuance of permits as described below for the Great Portland Pumpkin Fest, October 5th, or 4th and 5th. In the courthouse Park and County Office Building parking lot, issuing permits for special event and sound device permit without fee, and street closures along Central Ave and Greenbush. And be it further resolved that the city clerk shall issue said permits conditioned on fulfillment of applicable state and local code requirements and on approval by the chief of police.
Any questions? We're excited about having it. Now we're trying to figure out, we got this new showmobile. We're trying to figure out how to fit it into the park. So that's how big it is. So those are good problems to have, I guess. So with that, we'll move it, please.
Councilmember Merker.
Aye.
Councilmember Silliman.
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello.
Aye.
Councilmember Lane.
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter.
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith.
Aye.
Councilmember Michaels.
Aye.
Agenda item number 2, approve special event permits for the ADA celebration, July 26, 2025.
Resolved that the city of Portland Common Council does hereby approve the issuance of permits as described below for the Americans with Disability Act celebration, July 26th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Gaiman Park, sponsored by Cortland Access to Independence, issuing a special event permit and a sound device permit without fee. Be it further resolved that the city clerk shall issue said permits conditioned on fulfillment of applicable state and local code requirements.
Ms. Lane, Mr. Carpenter, any questions?
Are we up to code? Game Park?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, please.
That's a great question.
Great.
Otherwise, they're gonna make a motion, we'll find another place for them, that's what I was getting at.
Councilmember Merker.
Aye.
Councilmember Silliman.
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello.
Aye.
Councilmember Lane.
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter.
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith.
Aye.
Councilmember Michaels.
Aye.
Agenda item number 3, First Amendment to the Management Plan 2025.
Resolved that the management plan section titled Covered Employees be and the same hereby is amended to include the job titles lifeguard, assistant head lifeguard, aquatics director, and water safety instructor. And be it further resolved that the management plan section title Schedule A, compensation schedule and title B, and the same hereby is amended to add the salary for the lifeguard, $1.50 more than the minimum wage. All of these reflect an amount in addition to the minimum wage. $2.50 for the assistant head lifeguard, $3.50 for the head lifeguard, $5.50 for the aquatics director, and $9.50 more than minimum wage for the water safety instructor.
A motion, Mr. Michael, Mr. Beckwith. Again, this is, the titles we missed in the management plan, so this is just a. Okay, move it, please.
Councilmember Merker.
Aye.
Councilmember Silliman.
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello.
Aye.
Councilmember Lane.
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter.
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith.
Aye.
Councilmember Michaels.
Aye.
Agenda item number 4, authorize agreement for TOMA for administrating and program delivery services relating to the CDBG grant for housing rehabilitation.
Resolved that the city of Portland County Council hereby authorizes Mayor Steve to execute an agreement with Toma Development Consultants for program delivery services as part of the Community Development Block Grant in the amount of $134,500 pursuant to the consultant's response to the request for proposal and pending review and approval by the New York State Office of Community Renewal.
I'll move it.
Now, Mr. Beckwith,
Yeah.
questions? Move it, please.
Councilmember Merker.
Aye.
Councilmember Silliman.
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello.
Aye.
Councilmember Lane.
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter.
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith.
Aye.
Councilmember Michaels.
Aye.
Agenda item number 5, authorize the award of micro enterprise assistance program funds under community development block grant number 285 ME 264-24.
Resolved that the city of Portland Common Council hereby awards micro enterprise grants to the above listed applicants, which are Cortland Tech Hub in the amount of $25,000 for the purchase of equipment, furniture, fixtures, inventory, and working capital. Project Lean Nation on Main Street, $31,000 for the purchase of inventory and working capital. Crown City Media on Tompkins Street, $35,000 for the purchase of equipment and supplies. Town Line Motors, DBA Stupid Choppers on Tompkins Street, $31,000 for the purchase of equipment. That it be approved contingent upon the execution of the grant agreement and compliance with all applicable program and regulatory requirements. And be it further resolved that Mayor Steve or his designee is authorized to execute all necessary agreements, certifications, and documentations required to implement and administer the awards. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution shall be filed with the city clerk and made available for public inspection.
Motion, Mr. Beckwith, Carpenter. Any questions? Good. Move it, please.
Councilmember Merker.
Aye.
Councilmember Silverman.
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello.
Aye.
Councilmember Lane.
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter.
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith.
Aye.
Councilmember Michaels.
Aye.
Agenda item number 6, declaring certain computers and information technology equipment as surplus and designate means of disposal.
Resolved that the city of Cortland County Council hereby declares the computers and information technology devices, equipment, and peripherals as described below and identified as outdated and obsolete, be surplus property. And be it further resolved that the common council authorizes the sale at auction of the 29 items as listed, the proper 29 items for auction, the proper disposal by recycling of the 41 items as listed, and the proper destruction and disposal of 4 items as listed. I'll dispense with reading each one, but they are listed in the resolution.
I got a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Beckwith, Mr. Carpenter. Yeah, we cleaned it up downstairs, so we have a whole IT room full of good stuff that you're bringing in. Okay, move it, please.
Councilmember Merker.
Aye.
Councilmember Silliman.
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello.
Aye.
Councilmember Lane.
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter.
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith.
Aye.
Councilmember Michaels.
Aye.
Agenda item number 7, repeal the resolution number 85 of 2019.
Resolved that resolution number 85 of 2019 and the same hereby is repealed.
I'll move it.
Now, Mr. Beckwith, so just a little explanation here, in 2019, there was a 1.5% adder that the city was charging county. Despite the legalities of not, possibly that wasn't, possible, probable, they were just turning around and we were not paying them that 1.5%, they were adding it to our next year's taxes. So the citizens were still paying it, so in reference to that, it makes more sense to not do it. It's just an extra paperwork for everybody.
So are they also getting rid of that 1.5?
That is correct.
That's, okay.
Yes. They have no right to charge it. We have no right to hold it. They have no right to charge it either, so that would all go away. Okay, anybody else? Handle it, please.
Councilmember Merker.
Aye.
Councilmember Silliman.
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello.
Aye.
Councilmember Lane.
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter.
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith.
Aye.
Councilmember Michaels.
Aye.
Agenda item number 8, accept bid and authorize agreement with Casella Waste Management of New York Incorporated for dumpster and recycling service.
Resolved that the common council does hereby award a contract to Casella Waste Management of New York Incorporated pursuant to the RFP for dumpster and recycling services for an annual cost of $45,570 and not more than $4,605 for special project collections, and authorizes Mayor Steve to execute an agreement with the company for a term not to exceed December 31st, 2028.
Question, Ms. Lang, Mr. Carpenter. And this is for the dumpsters, all of our city dumpsters that are without the city, and as well as the corral areas, to maintain those corral areas that we're looking at on Groton Ave building outside.
We had a long time now, and
I'm sorry,
2028.
that's a long time. Well, we can get out.
Okay, that's, okay.
They actually included the waste.
I don't think it's a bad price, but,
That's all the hauling of the trash.
right, yeah.
Or the weight of the trash, I should say. Anybody else? Please.
Councilmember Merker.
Aye.
Councilmember Silliman.
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello.
Aye.
Councilmember Lane.
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter.
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith.
Aye.
Councilmember Michaels.
Aye.
Agenda item number 9, authorize main law enforcement agreement with Cortland County SPCA.
Resolved that the city of Portland Common Council hereby authorizes Mayor Steve to execute an agreement with the Portland County SPCA for the purposes stated above. Consideration of a sum of not to exceed $25,000 for a period ending December 31st, 2025.
We got a motion, Ms. Lane, Ms. Sullivan, just ask Ms. Pinello to abstain from this due to a direct conflict of looking at the SPCA, and also want to make note that, I am currently the president of the SPCA as well, so want to make sure everybody is aware of that. So I'm glad we'll sign both sides of the, agreement, if you will, but I get no income from either one, so.
I'm glad we're back with the SPCA.
Well, I'm glad it's a reasonable amount.
Right,
How to go from
right.
60 to 25, it's great.
And it's, we're making some great progress and, working to get some things in a good way.
So is this so, I'm sorry. Let me gather my thoughts. So we're still gonna house the animals that are confiscated at the other facility,
That's correct.
but the SPCA is gonna help in corralling.
And the law enforcement end of it, fulfilling that need.
So this takes that burden off of our police force.
That is correct.
Is it-
Assist them in that. So still they would have to assist. There's a two-way street there. They would have to
Okay.
assist if an arrest is made. We want law enforcement doing
Sure,
that. They,
sure.
that agency should be doing it. But to chase it out and really make those calls and make sure that the animals are determine what they are.
And
How big,
overall price comparable with what we were paying before?
it's still less.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
I'll note that, the contract that was posted online as part of the supporting documents, there's a slightly revised version that's been included in the handouts, here. And we'll post that slightly revised, contract online to replace what was there, but they're small changes.
I think we're the numbers. Okay. Anybody else? Roll it, please.
Councilmember Merker.
Aye.
Councilmember Sullivan.
I,
Councilmember Pinello is
Abstain.
reported in abstention. Councilmember Lane.
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter.
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith.
Aye.
Councilmember Michaels.
Aye.
Agenda item number 10, accept and recognize $4,705 grant from Cortland Communities Foundation for the fire department.
Resolved that the city of Portland Common Council, on behalf of the mayor and fire department, expresses its gratitude for the generous donation of $4,705 from the Portland Community Foundation for the purchase of equipment for the fire department. And be it further resolved that the common council hereby accepts the $4,705 grant and appropriates the funds to fire department revenue line under unclassified revenue, and with a budget transfer request, place funds in the fire department operational line account.
Ms. Sullivan, Ms. Beckwith. Any questions on this? Thank the Community Foundation does a lot for our community. They do. Yeah.
Councilmember Merker.
Aye.
Councilmember Sullivan.
I,
Councilmember Pinello.
Aye.
Councilmember Lane.
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter.
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith.
Aye.
Councilmember Michaels.
Aye.
Agenda item number 11, designates solar installation as requiring operating permits from the city code enforcement office.
Resolved that the common council hereby determines the solar installations at 22 Locust Avenue and 136 South Pendleton Street as posing a potential hazard pursuant to section 100-10 of the city administrative code, and are required to obtain an operating permit from the code enforcement office and be subject to annual inspection for compliance with fire codes, maintenance standards, and local ordinances.
I'll move it.
Mr. Beckwith, any questions? Okay, please.
Councilmember Merker.
Aye.
Councilmember Sullivan.
I,
Councilmember Pinello.
Aye.
Councilmember Lane.
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter.
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith. Councilmember Michaels.
Aye.
Agenda item number 12, accept and recognize donations to the youth bureau.
And we will amend the account that this money is being appropriated to. When first distributed, it said that it would go to the Sharp Trust account. It will go instead to account A 7010-42706. Resolved that the City of Portland Common Council, on behalf of the Mayor and Youth Bureau, expresses its gratitude to UAW Local 1326 Paul at Portland for its generous sponsorship of the July 31st, 2025 Summer Concert Series featuring Travis Rocco. And be it further resolved that the Common Council hereby accepts the donation to be appropriated to the accounts and for the purposes below.
Beckwith, Mr. Michaels. Any questions? Okay, move it please.
Councilmember Merker.
Aye.
Councilmember Silliman.
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello.
Aye.
Councilmember Lane.
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter.
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith.
Aye.
Councilmember Michaels.
Aye.
Agenda item number 13, authorized agreement with Yale Hardwood Flooring to resurface the Parker School Gymnasium floor.
Resolved that the City of Portland Common Council hereby authorizes Mayor Steve to enter into an agreement with Yale Hardwood Flooring to resurface the gym floor at Parker School for $14,450 using funds donated by Bailey Place Insurance and appropriate to capital fund account H06 Parker School Playground and Gym. And be it further resolved that the mayor and other appropriate city officials are authorized and directed to take all necessary steps to execute the agreement and oversee the completion of the project in accordance with the city procurement policies.
Mr. Beckwith. Carpenter. Again, we thank the Franco family and Bailey Place for donations to make this happen. There's a lot of good things happening that everybody can get into that neighborhood, have a meeting over there, everybody can see the kind of stuff.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So they appreciate that. So I wanted to,
Call the roll.
yeah,
Councilmember Merker.
Here.
Councilmember Silliman.
Aye.
Councilmember Pinello.
Aye.
Councilmember Lane.
Aye.
Councilmember Thompson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carpenter.
Aye.
Councilmember Beckwith.
Aye.
Councilmember Michaels.
Aye.
So we're being presented with a letter from Mr. Thompson, and I'll let Mr. Thompson speak to the floor, and certainly is with regret to accept this letter and maybe to make this statement.
I'm gonna keep this short. But for the last 5 years, and for the last 19, 20 years coming up, I've lived in this community, loved this community and what it has to offer, and wanted to continue to build upon that in service to this community, and being able to do that to the Fifth Ward. However, I have new opportunities in the career path that I've been on, and I need to explore those. And so with that, I am resigning my seat because Portland and the Fifth Ward deserves someone that's present and available to meet the demands and challenges that the city has, and to be able to serve with this great council here. And so it's been an honor and a privilege to serve with you, and I do thank you for all your support over the years. And I know you will do good work in the future, so thank you, Courtney.
Thank you.
Good luck to you, sir.
I want to applaud for your effort and what you've done, and so that's the word there, your time period. How they can work. Will be missed, that's for sure. So the next steps will be, I've contacted the Democratic Party chair, and we have 30 days to appoint that vacancy, so we're hoping to have something happening, the July 1st or July 15th meeting. And there will take the process similar that we did on the Republican side. Appreciate everybody's efforts in making that forward, and we'll look forward to the names that the party gives us. So real quick, I want to talk about curbing, and then we'll go into executive session. I don't anticipate anything will happen in the executive session, but Mike, if you can come up real quick, So, we went over to the, Mary Claire's ward and, there was some concerns in that area, including Belrose and all the streets over there. I believe there's 6 streets over there that, are towards the dead end side of the roads and streets. And, we had 15 people. I apologize for not getting back to you, Chris. I know I was one of the ones on email, but, you know, we had, there's a group chain of emails and I meant to link you into that so you could get your answers that were on there, but I just inadvertently didn't get to. But the, you know, it's a very valid question, a very concerned neighborhood, great neighborhood. And as they all are, we're doing these ward walks, we've been able to find great places to live. I mean, it's really been clean. I mean, everybody's doing it. It really, it makes you feel good about what we're doing, really does. And so I encourage that, and that, particularly that neighborhood too, is, you know, it's kind of quiet back in there and you don't really know that's there. You got these monster trees that are the beauty of that area, which are, you know, creating some of the concerns and some of the problems. In some areas, they're back far enough, they're not as much, but they are beautiful and we hate to take them down before their turn. And it might be 5 years, it might be 2, it might be 15. It's hard to say. But if we can maintain those and keep that beauty in those streets, I think that's it. So, I think just want to answer a couple questions that, Mr. Rand brought up, you know, about the cold mix and hot mix. I don't know. I know there's been a couple of cold mix streets, but we typically don't do that. Am I right?
We do it on lower traffic areas. The cold mix and it gets placed with the top of the hot mix on top of it.
Okay.
The cold mix is meant to be a little more forgiving on the underlying surface. There's not repetitive high volume of traffic to it. It's sustained better.
Okay. And my understanding, the streets that deteriorated, which ones are just determined clays, you did an independent assessment of all the streets as well as, I know Sucro has done as well.
That's correct.
Right, and then using that scale and determining which ones are being paved.
That's correct.
And then you're trying to do it in a regions now to try to save costs and economic.
That's
Right? So that's, and then some of the process of the streets is done through the DPW commission board. And they're helping making that decision to rectify, as all the commissions do, help all the agencies to help make those independent decisions in those boards to do that. The materials, and again, there's other people on that board that have experience, both statewide DOT paving and county paving, that are advisors in that board as well. As we also take recommendations from outside engineering companies sometimes, right? So I think I answered most of those questions. So now we'll talk specifically some of the curbing. So in some of the other areas that are not as frequent driven streets, you know, some of the suggestions that Mike had was to asphalt curbing as to do it. Obviously, the curbing is to drive the water towards the drain structures of what we have. And the numbers that were given to me, and Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, for those 6 streets, if we did granite curbing, it would be about just under $500,000. If we did concrete curbing, it'd be $250,000. If we did asphalt, it was $17,000.
That's right.
And so I think those are some of those decisions to try to do that. And some of that area was decisions were made, not high volume, like Helen was high volume with granite curbing. And then to do that, they tear down all the trees and then they end up putting all the sidewalks in there, build something more of a major construction. So to be able to do that in that area was a concern, because the trees would have to be cut back. And they talked about, when I was over there, there's great suggestion on narrowing the streets as well from the constituents in that board. They were saying, well, why don't you narrow the street, then we could put concrete curbing or granite curbing. They recognized the cost, and they said accepting granite or concrete curbing and then narrow the streets. And it was a suggestion that they had. But you know, with the trees still growing and expanding and contracting, the idea was, what I was explained to is a asphalt could be cut out and replaced. If the tree did go down and had to clean it, they could actually do that. And then if if a tree did upheave it and lift it up, it'd be more difficult, do more damage to be able to do that, so. I don't know what else, maybe Mike, you wanna talk about a little bit more and ask questions, anybody here. What that's about, really try to get everybody's input of what the best solution is. Cause, you know, if we had to take the trees out and they're in the sidewalks, you're looking at $1.5 million projects to do that. And that would be a 15% tax increase for everybody.
Well, personally, if you put granite curbing, you can reuse it.
If it doesn't break.
Rightfully so with Chris. I pushed for Van Ness Street only because the people had curbing and they were putting nothing back, so we had to make a compromise and give them some curbing, that was me. But asphalt curbing is definitely not the answer, other than saving you money. In the long term, it's not gonna hold up as long as the curbing's been around this community.
Yeah, I mean, I get that perspective, right? I mean, it's, if you look at it from a long-term wear standpoint, your higher traffic areas, traditionally will get granite. And then you'll come down to a concrete curving, right, which will give you your gutter for drainage. And then we come to our low traffic areas where we put asphalt in. Asphalt still gives us the ability to direct water flow. Gives us a break from traffic being into the yards. And again, with low traffic. The longevity of that will be, 10 years with the road, at that point in time, it could be replaced again in kind. For what that comparison would be, a fraction of the cost of granite.
No, I know where you're coming from,
Yeah, I'm only giving you.
Right, yeah.
The time I
In
spent.
the real world, I'd love to go right from A to B and replace them all.
I mean, ideally, right, every street could have it, this is all, the background of this, it's all being funded through CHIPS money.
Yep.
That's a limited bucket, and we've gotta make that bucket work for all the miles that we have in the city, and that plays into this.
So you're doing what you can do with what you got to work with, if you don't do anything, you're not gonna have anything, so.
It all becomes part of that bigger
Yeah,
discussion, and for functionality, and I think, feasibility, it makes a lot of sense to me.
But you're right, in a hot day with the granite, the asphalt curb, it will crash. You don't get, I saw what you're talking about, I see it over there already, I mean,
And the
it
best,
lasted quite a while on Pendleton Street. So it got washed out, but it wasn't the curbing's fault.
I was looking at Fox Hollow too,
Yeah.
and it's still there, up on the hill, so
Yeah.
I was up there, and it's still there, and that's. A long time, that's 20-some years, but I will, certainly I don't think that.
We're going to narrow roads at the answer, that's gonna cost us a lot more money, you gotta reseed them all, you're gonna have to extend everybody's aprons.
and we worry about, emergency vehicle traffic getting in and out of there, once you start to narrow that down.
But I do know
The
you
benefit of
guys,
it, if it does crush, we internally are installing it and can repair it, with the equipment we currently have on hand.
but I do know also, I think, I don't know what the budget is, but every year you have been doing X amount of granite curbing as well, I know we got Clayton Ave scheduled this year, correct? Curbing.
But now,
Clayton.
Clayton is going to be concrete, not.
Okay, well, concrete, okay.
Again,
Yeah.
as your traffic volume there is greater.
It'll look good next to my granite curbing, huh?
right,
It's again, it comes down to how far can you make that dollar stretch for an area that will sustain that traffic.
so I guess I want to get everybody's, basic understanding of what it's about.
Oh, yeah, I know.
It is hard, we'd love to be able to have. I'd love those looks of that, to that, but it's not, it's not trying to degrade the value of the property, I don't know that would happen, I think. Maintaining the streets and keeping them all where they need to go, there's, I would say we could probably get an argument of which streets need to be paved. There's some rules pretty rough in your ward,
Yes.
we just walked.
Yes.
And, like, we gotta get to it all, I get that, and certainly don't wanna discount what other people are saying, I agree with that as well. But I don't feel like it's, I don't know, it's hard just, to understand it, but I would just really like to get some input backwards from the council as a whole. On how to do that, if we did put the granite or even if we did the concrete, we'd have to back off any other paving we did this year.
Yeah, I would certainly remove the rest of the paving that we have planned for the remainder.
What were the curves before on that street?
They were the concrete gutters, so they had the concrete curb in the back and the concrete, drain in the bottom of it.
Mhm.
And they were all crumbling,
Yeah.
and deteriorating in that.
There were houses that didn't have any curbs.
It's ready.
Yeah, they had deteriorated. I think that as the third ward council person, I think that a piece that was missing, and Mike, you and I have had this conversation too. I think that had the residents found out before the millings and before all of the work started, and there had been a little bit more communication anticipating what was going to happen. Had that occurred, I think that would have helped the situation. They would have known ahead of time what was coming and why, not just what, but why also, and why the plan for the asphalt curbing. So I think that piece could have been done differently. And you and I have had that conversation,
Yes,
so.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
That scenario was. I get the asphalt ratings back and I've gotta, take that as a value, and then I've gotta go out and I walked those streets and I said, look, I'm dropping football, so to speak, here, if I don't address the drainage and curbing concerns along with the road, because from a chip standpoint, once I pay for it through CHIPS money, I can't touch it again for 10 years. I can't get back into that road and make any repairs. So either I make that judgment call to improve that scenario, or I leave that alone and we have a problem in the future. Unfortunately, that's where it fell short. I should do better communication wise, and I can do better with that process, I certainly will. But that's why that scenario kind of fell where it was.
And I think a lot of people probably don't realize, and only, obviously Mike, that there is a lot of concrete gutter curbing in this community that, but over the years, neglected to do anything, grinding roads down, we paved right over them.
And that's where they failed. At the bottom, it's all deteriorated beneath.
That's the problem, we paved right over the gutters.
So you end up with a 1.5 inch curb reveal there, which isn't doing much for your water flow, your drainage, and then it fell apart and you're in a worse
At
scenario.
least the roads are now, they're taking them back down, but I mean, you look at a lot of the curbing we have in amongst the city. It's, most of the roads are up to the top of the curb,
And right, and then once that happens, how do you solve that?
right?
It's
Take it down.
right, it's a mess.
It's just.
And
keep putting,
build it down.
It is the problem we face in every
Yeah.
business. And ultimately, that's where you're gonna find your biggest premature wear of a road is through water. And that ability to get in and under the pavement.
So.
Now, these concrete curbings, are they prefabbed or are they poured in place?
They're poured in place, they would be slip forms, they come with such a machine and they would pour them in place. Where they sit.
You know anyone that makes prefab curbing?
I have not dug into prefab curbing, from prior experience, I certainly would have to hire that out to somebody else to do that. Prior experience tells me whenever I try to set prefab structures on a curbing for drainage. Some elevation in there fails virtually, it's easier when you pour them all together.
Well, it's probably just as much if you're putting granite in it. And you get to make sure everything's level, it's not gonna settle, you got a good base.
Well, you're right, because the benefit to granite, even if a slab, they're all kind of tight together, so even if a side falls a little bit, they'll be all right, and then we still use the road for drainage. At the end of it. So it won't affect the drainage as much, the concrete ties that gutter in. So any change in that, frost heave or anything of that nature. Rules that.
Okay, yeah, I just wanna get that information out, that also, thank you.
Yeah, granite curving is an art to watch, that's for sure.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Those guys are good at it.
It is why they do it for a living, they're very good at it.
The old timer from Geneva, they're the artists.
Anybody else?
No right answers anywhere.
Well, anybody else have any input or questions or anything we can add? Chris, do you have anything else you want to answer? Anything else you need to answer for?
So I do, I've talked to some of my neighbors about this and, some of them feel like, if one street gets granite, then we should all get it, and I don't agree with that. I understand that you're on Main Street, literally Main Street, that's gonna get more attention because it's, it affects us, the whole city, whereas my street does not. People aren't driving down, it doesn't affect all cities the same way, but on the other hand, I look at like Helen and Helen's higher traffic, but I wouldn't call it high traffic. So, it still doesn't make, so I can see why I don't think Helen gets any more traffic than, Lake Nab, so.
Yeah, Helen was a restore, there was a total, to redo the sidewalks, take the trees out and redo all that, so there was. A little bit
They just
different, it was a
did
different,
It was the sidewalks only on the side.
one side, right, because it was drained, right, isn't there was a
I think
drainage.
there might have been gas lines or something.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Anyway, so it's that sort of discrepancy where, but I don't know if it's clear rules, I think that, we have clear standards and.
Yeah.
Um. But the other issue is, I don't think, and I can't speak to the other streets as I look at attention, I don't think our street beautification at all. I think it was almost in nearly perfect condition, my wife was a much better memory for these things, things that was put in when my youngest son was born. So I'd also like to know, like, what kind of blacktop they use, because even on a low, very low volume street, it held up really well, it wasn't probably. And I see like some other streets that are just falling apart, and I don't know.
I think some of those was alluded to before with the drainage, the waters, if you go look. In front of, the road that goes to the waterworks, anywhere there's a drainage problem. It just completely blows apart, yes, well, the top coat won't hold it. Water soaks through it, gets between that and the base coat. Just blows it. I think that's, and we've been paving over the gutters, which change the elevation, so they can't get to the drains, and so that's part of this long-term plan we need to fix.
Yeah, a good example is Townley and Drive Ave. That, you've seen that deteriorate in the last year, just because the lake that's there when it rains hard. The water can't get to the catch basin, so the pond's there, it gets into the asphalt and it breaks apart that top layer. There's plans to fix that, but that is the demonstration of what happened. That's how it works the most.
Okay, anything else? All right, well, thank you for your input, everybody, for doing that, I think, it's good to challenge our department heads on some of the things they're doing, and we need to do that. Take some time to have those conversations out loud, it's good, so, thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, so now I'd like to move into executive session to, enter into an executive session for the purpose of discussing negotiations with the county of Portland for the sales tax distribution agreement. So Beckwith, Carpenter, all those in favor? Executive session. Please note, Mr. Jewett, that, Ms. Lane has left prior to that executive session. All right, we'll go in that room. I don't expect any action after this, but if you guys don't want to stay media wise. It's up to you, okay, but I don't see any action. We're not gonna.
Yeah, maybe just unmute.
Okay, it's unmuted, you are live.
Unmuted. Get everybody back in here? So, yeah, so we have, Seth made the motion to go out of executive session, Dana seconded the motion to go out of executive session.
Yep.
Now that we're back, take a motion to adjourn the meeting. By Silverman, Mr. Thompson, there's last one, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, meeting adjourned at 7:27, sorry. Thank you.